Yeah, I think so too.
They just,
Yeah. She's been researching. She cuts hair. She's got
She needs to be visible, not just her caption.
Okay.
You can do like the other remote too, but you're running out of room.
Hey Becky, you need to turn on your camera. He's gotta be able to visibly see you.
I could not understand the answers without the questions.
yeah. Well, there were some of them that had them recently.
Yes,
Like, I think
Stacy did.
Check your mic and make sure everything's turned up. It looks like you're
But I don't
muted.
understand.
There we go.
There you go.
I don't
All
understand
right, we got you signed up
either
twice, so
how other counties have.
once you click off of one of them, or we, I don't know if you can recognize which one you're on. We've got your caption with one. I don't know if it'll slow down her opening twice.
You may completely go out and go back in.
So let's just,
No,
no, be
it's
safe.
already-
You're fine. I think you're fine.
But that's my understanding when you pay them. You're still paying.
Ben had to step out.
No time.
Bought you a little time. He's got a work-related injury on his finger.
Oh.
Or maybe not work-related. I've never seen him do any work,
yeah.
but some sort of
I like
injury
the
occurred.
I do too.
Yeah, I carry
That better. All good. There we go.
I thought you meant here.
Yeah.
I thought you meant right
Not here.
Call the foreman and tell him.
I'm creating a makeshift space.
Just make sure you don't have the camera too close to your nostrils.
Just know that, right now it's just, Shane and myself able to see you, so.
Okay, perfect.
I want video to make it be quiet.
And I'll, of course, you can see some of the
Thank you, babe.
screen behind me.
Yes.
So that's
Except
when our delegate gets up, that's part of her presentation, but I'll move it over so you can see a little bit better. Move over.
That's not on the agenda.
There, that's
So
better.
where would we need to do this?
She
So that's
said-
that's not an agenda
It's
item.
not an agenda.
She said it pertained to the
That's, okay, but
presentation.
that's a delegation.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm the offended
No,
party.
you're fine, you're fine. No, basically, the public comments were an item we're voting on tonight. If you're a delegation, you're just addressing an issue.
Yeah.
No. I'm speaking on behalf of someone else, so if I can't.
Time with Eddie.
So that's what I pulled out was the DA guidelines.
Since we're not taking any action.
Yeah, I don't see sugar anywhere
So
on
I
there.
don't have to say anything.
There's a chance that we will have that added to, there's a chance that we'll have that added to the agenda next month, being November the 19th.
I'm sorry, I thought I explained that. I didn't do a very good job.
It's okay, I forgive you. I won't hold it against you. Not
Good
this
to go?
time anyway.
Okay. All right, it's just after 5 o'clock. If everyone will please stand, we'll begin this evening. We'll ask Ben Couples to lead us in the opening prayer and Dr. Kim Scott to follow with our Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's pray. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this beautiful weather you've been blessing us with. Thank you for this time of year when we can see your creation change colors, and cooler temperatures, and Father, it's one of the many things we're grateful for that you provide. Father, just ask you to be with us tonight during this meeting, that we may act in a manner that is pleasing to you. Just ask you to continue to be with our county and our schools and our faculty and our students, and just watch over each and every one. Father, we thank you so much for loving us and for all the mercy that you bless us with. We thank you most of all for your Son and the saving grace that he offers us through his blood. We pray all this in most holy name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. At this time, I'm going to ask Director Kilzer to call the roll, please.
Shane Connor,
Here.
Ben Couples. Here. Brandy Cherry,
Here.
Becky Hutcherson,
Here.
Clay Rogers,
Here.
Kim Scott.
Here.
All present.
All right, all present, 5 in person, and Becky is joining us virtually tonight. And so with a quorum present, we officially call this meeting to order. Our first item is a recommendation to accept our agenda for tonight.
I make a motion to accept the board agenda.
Second.
All right, motion's made and seconded. Any discussion about the agenda? All right, if there is no discussion, the agenda will be set upon this vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the agenda is set. First item is the consent agenda.
I make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Second.
All right, motion's made and seconded. There is no discussion on the consent agenda. All those in favor of its approval say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that is approved. Next, we have our delegations to open our meeting tonight, and we do have a delegation. Jessica Conaway Donovan is here, a parent of an Eastchester student, and she is asked to address the board about the school nutrition program. As with any delegation, the board will listen to the presentation, but of course, not being on the actual agenda, there's no action taken tonight, but it can be placed on a future agenda for action based on the presentation. So Jessica, if you want to come, floor is yours.
When you're done, if there's time,
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this evening. My name is Jessica Donovan. I have 2 children that currently attend Eastchester Elementary. However, tonight, I'm advocating for all Chester County students. My mission today is to influence the board to provide fresher, healthier meals for our students. One might ask, what is wrong with our current menu? And my response to that question in reviewing September and October's menus would be, in September, 35% of the lunch menu was a breadstick, cheese stick, or pizza. 30% was Trix yogurt boxes. Scratch-made items was 20%. October was a short month, but again, 31% of the meals offered was a breadstick, cheese stick, or pizza. I spoke with students, parents, principals, teachers, and other counties' nutrition supervisors. Since students are the primary customers of school meals, here are some of the things that the high school students shared when asked about lunch. The milk is expired. That was also something from the junior high. The food is not hot. The eggs are watery, taste terrible. They run out of food by third lunch shift, not enough protein, and the food in the wrappers is soggy. I was also curious about a few things, so to confirm those, I reached out to 4 of our cafeteria managers and asked if a student was to choose the cold lunch option, can they still get a hot vegetable or a fresh fruit? 3 of the 4 said yes. Let's see. But when I checked with teachers, they were not aware of this. This is also information that's not provided to parents. I asked if they were adequately staffed to handle more scratch cooking, and the general response was no. Teachers spend as much, if not more time, with our kids Monday through Friday as parents do. So in your packet, I've included a teacher survey, because who better to provide insight into how students behave and perform after school meals than those who see them every day. In Chester County, we have children who are hungry, and they're being offered meals full of empty calories for breakfast and lunch. Are these options truly nourishing for our students? Are they healthy? Are they beneficial? Are they sustaining? Are they wholesome? For breakfast, apparently, we are now considering cinnamon rolls, Pop-Tarts, and soft-filled cereal bars a hot option. The food is not fueling the kids for the day. Not to mention that these hot breakfast items are all heated in plastic. For example, the banana bread. Very popular with the kids. Even my kids say they're delicious. My son brought this home and I noticed packaging. So I said, "Is this from your backpack?" It is not from his backpack. It's from being heated in the plastic. We're heating like 8 breakfast items up in their plastic. In my opinion, this is it's not an acceptable breakfast. While working on this, many people have asked, why don't you just pack a lunch if you don't like it? And I might be able to do that because I pay full price, $2 a day for each kid. But what if my child is on reduced lunch? Can anyone realistically pack a lunch for 40 cents? We shouldn't have to worry about packing a lunch. For many in our community, it is a reality that school meals are all they will get to eat in a day. And I want you to let that sink in and then tell me that a Pop-Tart for breakfast and a breadstick for lunch are going to keep them full until the next school day. I've also heard that providing healthier options won't be effective if the kids aren't willing to try them. So I ask you, how do other counties do it? Are Chester County students just picky eaters, or can we teach them and encourage them to try and possibly enjoy new, healthier foods? They are required to spend half of their waking hours in a school, and they consume a substantial portion of their daily food there. Isn't school a logical place to encourage healthy dietary behaviors? School food matters. Prevention of chronic disease, improved academic performance, mental health, establishing lifelong healthy habits, to name a few. Improving school nutrition is an investment in our children's future. It's not just about feeding the students. It's about nourishing their potential to succeed academically, emotionally, and socially. So, I brought some examples. Last month, you voted on limiting the number of sugary food items for fundraisers. We wanted to cut that down. So you mentioned candy bars and donuts. This amount of donuts is the amount of sugar in this box that I purchased from East Chester. So I purchased this. This is what my child would have chosen. You can have 6 Krispy Kreme donuts for the amount of sugar in there. The candy bars. Somebody ate one of my candy bars, but you can have 6 candy bars. There's only 5, but you can have 6 of these chocolate candy bars to equal the sugar in the tricks box. That's an issue.
That's one lunch, one.
I mean, would you serve 6 donuts to a preschooler or a kindergartner?
What's the lunch cold?
If I can speak now, again, bringing in the fundraisers, that's getting convoluted because those are separate. Fundraiser requests are based on, again, the state guidance. It's not something that we just came up with ourselves.
I realize that.
So
It's
again,
just a
based on,
comparison. It's
Well,
a
I
comparison
understand,
that
but
they
when
you
you-
can serve this box twice a week.
yeah,
to
I was just gonna
students.
address the fundraisers with the Krispy Kremes and the candy bars. We have to follow the guidance that the state gives us with our policies. That's why we reemphasize that, because everybody understands that a sugary treat for a fundraiser is an easier sale. But the guidance from the state requires us to limit that to only 1 per semester, which is what we're doing.
Okay. My point is that the amount of sugar that is in this box is equivalent to 6 Krispy Kreme donuts. I wouldn't let my child sit down and have 6 donuts. I'm paying and they can sit down and have that at lunch, kindergarten through 8th grade. Okay, so besides my mission here, a few questions that others have brought up that would like little bit of clarification on. The CEP, the Community Eligibility Provision, who and why was the deadline missed?
The opportunity was presented to me last spring by Stephanie. She had had that previously shared with all the food managers across, I don't know if it was West Tennessee or their whole state. And when we met and discussed that, given the fact that because of our current threshold of free and reduced lunch students, we would have to contribute from our general purpose budget to satisfy their budget. Because again, the revenue sources that are for the food items purchased, for the equipment used to cook with, for the salaries, the benefits of all the cafeteria staff, all that comes through their food service budget. And the revenue generated from the food, the commodities used or are provided, the meal what am I trying to say? The meals consumed, that's where you get your revenue source to supply the needs of their food service. So when she had said to me that to do this, we're already offering free breakfast, but to do the free lunch meal included, the district would have to supply, and I had misrepresented to some of the board members who we've discussed this with, it is roughly $20,000 that we would have to repurpose out of the general purpose budget each year to supply that. The way Stephanie pitched it to me the first time was that we can try it if you want to try it, and then if it doesn't work. But as I have shared to a few of the leaders of the board, this is not something that you take a stab at and try it for like, say, a month or semester or a year with the possibility of going back to previous. We understand that this commitment is long-term. So at the time that that was presented to me and the discussion with budgets already being generated for approval with the county board and the county commission, then I said, we're not gonna do this at this time. So it is me who made the delay happen, and until you have to be recognized for that, or at least apply for that by June. And my plans for this year, with the conversation that you and I have had, and the conversation since with Stephanie regarding this, is that this would come before the board in April.
They send the notifications out in April. So over the past how many years have you received notification that Chester County qualifies for it?
Chester County doesn't qualify
You
for
don't
it.
qualify for it.
They do qualify for it.
Not fully, no ma'am, it does not.
So in your packet, I put a weighted computed average in there. So Chester County, the CEP, the threshold, they lowered that to 25%. The identified student percentage in Chester County, district-wide, is at between 40 and 42%. So that means that you would qualify for it. Now, I did speak to someone in Fayette County, and Fayette County applies per school to maximize the benefits. So if you did that per school, your reimbursement percentage for the whole district would be 79%, which means Chester County would be responsible for the 21%. So to say that you don't qualify for it, Chester County does qualify for it.
Well, I'm not saying that they don't qualify. They don't qualify for a full reimbursement.
Correct.
Right.
You have one school that qualifies for 100% reimbursement. But if you applied per school, you would maximize the benefits on the program. And that would mean free lunch for every student for the next 4 years.
Well, again, like I said to you before, once you start this is not something we would regress and go back.
Would you not want free lunch for every student?
We want to have every student to eat a nutritious meal, yes. But what I'm saying is based on the fact that the board would have to consider repurposing budget, general purpose budget, for something that we've never had to purchase before. It took more time at that time to make that decision on the cuff. Again, for April, that was going to be for the board to consider. With the information you're sharing, I know I've heard just today, I spoke to Stephanie earlier today, and that Lexington City had the same opportunity. Henderson County, Hardin County, I've talked to Hardin County's director.
They've had CEP for 11 years.
But they also have a higher free and reduced lunch population than we do, which affords more opportunities for that.
So I have the identified
what else?
student percentage for every school. It's more than 40% for every school. It's almost 50%, 70% at Jacks Creek.
There is, and I don't know all the details, but the state or the feds are reducing some of those qualifying numbers in the past because you could.
In 23-24, it went from 40%
No, I'm
to
saying
25%.
currently. What I was gonna say earlier was that Lexington City decided somewhat similar to us. I didn't go as far as they did, but they found out that based on the fact that they would have to contribute and the possibility of having less overall percentage of free and reduced lunch, that they would have to contribute more. Again,
So
we're gonna.
50% and 70% is a low number to you for the amount of students that qualify for free and reduced.
Again, I'm not as schooled as you have with this.
I've looked into it. This will benefit every student, every teacher, every family. You have families in Chester County that are struggling. They're sitting in school, we're paying, and the lunches are subpar.
Now, do you understand that the same federal guidelines, these other schools that you're showing their pictures, the same ones that we purchased?
Yes. So that's that's a huge question. How can other counties have lunches that look like this for free for every student, yet Chester County has a lunch that looks like this, called this mystery meat, couldn't even tell what it was. We've got grilled cheeses in packages being heated, and then we've got Pop-Tarts for breakfast, Lucky Charms for breakfast. We've got Trix yogurt with Cheez-Its for lunch. Would you sit down and have a Cheez-It and a Trix yogurt for lunch? Would you serve that to your family for lunch?
What I can share with you, of course, again, you've done a great job at the presentation. Of course, the examples of the multiple meals that you're showing from other places look very good, nutritious.
They do.
You used one example of the mystery meat. I know that they serve more because I go on occasion and eat lunches at the high school and other campuses. And they don't always have the mystery meat every other day.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
Well, if I may interject, I actually got a text message from one of the students from the high school, and he said that he would not touch today's lunch with a 10-foot pole, that he didn't even get it. He just sat down in the cafeteria, that was awful. He and all his buddies they're all on some kind of ball team, and they just sat down, they didn't eat their lunch.
Dr. Scott has a question.
Did I understand that it would be $20,000? That's it?
mhm.
Okay. I thought it was way more than that.
I did, well, and I misspoke earlier, that's what I was correcting myself.
So roughly around 20,000, if we
Right.
started it.
Again, based on our numbers now,
Yeah.
based on the calculation,
But it's probably
but it
gonna
can
go up.
change. Again, just recently, this is a conversation that I had with Stephen Maurice, Dr. Maurice, just a few days ago, where they were adjusting the numbers of what is the qualifiers for free and reduced lunch. Districts, again, as the numbers reduce, as the percentages reduce, they'll have to contribute more into it. Again, Fayette County is a wonderful example. A friend of mine who runs that school district, it's one of the more impoverished school districts in the state. So that's not surprising that they have full commodities, a lot more funding provided for the food.
They had more funding because they applied the CEP per school. They didn't take an average district number. If Chester County took an average district number, then it would be at 40%. You would be responsible for 61%. If you took it per school, you have a school that's at 58%, 78, or 70%, 48%. You would be responsible for 21% if you did it per school, which is what Fayette County did to maximize
That's
the
what you're
benefits. Yes,
So I see Jacks Creek 100%,
they are,
East Chester 91.8%.
yes.
And I would want to, not to say that you're misleading us in any way, but I would want to confirm these things because when it comes down to decisions made with budget, the buck stops here. So what decisions would have to be made regarding the budget? Now, as far as the food products that we purchase, again, based on the conversation I've had earlier with the food manager, the supervisor, the same company that they all the good meals that you had displayed. They purchased it from a company. Cisco would be one prime example. It's the same one that we purchase our food from. The distinction possibly could be, as what Stephanie shared with me today, is that the menus are not as attractive like the one you shared with us, or Hardin County, with their October menu display.
The pictures I showed you, those are surrounding counties.
No, I was talking about the actual October menu.
Yeah, that's a
Display.
phenomenal elementary menu.
But again, based on the conversation I had today with Stephanie, we do echo or we do mimic those meal choices. Because
I
we're
would
buying from the
disagree.
same.
I understand you're buying,
Yeah, we're buying from the
but
same
the other
company.
counties are not having a breadstick, a cheese stick, or pizza 3 times a week. What teacher wants to eat that? Are teachers' meals purchased, are those revenue for the nutrition department?
Well, the teachers have to purchase their meals.
Right, is that revenue for the nutrition department?
Everything is revenue for the nutrition because they,
So if you're offering these options, what teacher wants to purchase a lunch from the school when they're having a breadstick, cheese stick, or pizza 3 times a week?
well, based on my anecdotal experience, there are some at the high school that do that because I see them in there eating.
Okay, well, then, the high school, this is hard to compare because the high school gets 2 hot options, they get a hot breakfast, they have a salad bar. So this is K through 8. This is where the main concern is at, is K through 8, their menus. The high school teachers, I understand that, they can get a salad bar, they can get something else. Yes. But as far as elementary, we'll just go into that next, why are we charging elementary teachers full price for a child's serving size?
Now, Miss Diane is here. I don't know if that is true. We do have Miss
Do you have any
Diane.
teachers?
She's the food manager for Eastchester.
We
Have
do
you-
give teachers more. We don't give them a child's portion.
So every teacher that I spoke to said, I'm not paying $4.50 and I get a child's serving size.
Well, I can just share, you and I are not as there as much as she is, and I would assume that much as far as being able to get the
We
food.
do give the teachers more.
They'll even ask, can we
They'll
have
even
more
ask for that,
meals?
have
Yes,
more
ma'am, you
money.
can. And they also can purchase extra also, if they want an extra slice of pizza, they can purchase that. We have several teachers at Eastchester that eat our food also on the line.
I mean, I did a survey, and if there's maybe 2 that say occasionally, and the rest say I bring my lunch every day. The teachers were very honest in their surveys. They respected that it was anonymous because they said it's very hard when you're getting a survey from the school that is connected to your email. So how are you going to speak truthfully about how you really feel about it if it's connected to your name?
Well, and of course, unrelated to this topic, we have the opportunity with the surveys that we do, we don't have to include the emails and for those areas that would cause that
I'm just saying
question.
they appreciated being asked their opinion on something. Okay. So I guess we've already gone, how are other counties able to offer multiple hot options to every student for free? We are paying and it is subpar.
I believe the real issue may become, if this becomes an agenda and it's voted on and we do pay the additional money, if you're buying from the same people that are offering product across the state, and other counties are able to have good ideas and different varieties of menu that is appealing and is good and does have a 100% staff agrees to pay extra because it's a good meal. I mean, good stuff sells. But if it's free to the student, somebody needs to be in charge that is willing to be creative and come up with something besides a breadstick, cheese stick.
Pizza, 3 times a week.
Yeah. I mean,
It's
if
not
we,
even good pizza, it's like some low fat.
if we,
It's not even good pizza like I grew up with.
this is a great presentation. And again, you have done a very good job. But it could stop with your presentation if we agreed to offer the money to do it. Somebody still needs to be in charge that does it. That does change the menu, that makes it appealing and makes it good.
There's lots of menus I pulled up 4 different school systems menus.
I sent Stephanie and Troy 6 different counties in August of their different menus.
I saw some of them that were posted on
Now, if I may ask,
Carter's.
you haven't had, other than morning meal, have you had any other time to talk to Stephanie Lawler?
I
Yeah.
emailed Stephanie, my last email said, is this the best we can do? I also asked a couple other questions, and there was no response to that.
Because she's the one that makes the decisions. I know she meets routinely with the food managers of all the schools collectively. They meet and decide how best to serve. We want our kids to eat. There's no doubt about it. I have no question in the hearts of everybody that is employed through food service that they want to see the kids eat well. And the interest of the box meals being included was to give an additional choice for students in the lower grades in comparison to the meat and vegetables, the traditional old style meal that I used to eat all the time.
When I went to school, you could smell what was cooking. When you go into the school now, you don't smell anything.
Now, they do have scratch menus 2 days a week, at least 2 days a week.
I think so. I know one of them this month is gonna be chili. It was soup this month. It was spaghetti. I don't have the menu with me, so I can't exactly
It was
know.
20%. 20% of the menu was scratch-made items.
But even with the soup, I'm sorry about it, but even with the soup, like we used to get like a piece of cheese toast with our soup. And it's packaged now. It's a grilled cheese in a package. Do you know how bad it is to heat up stuff in a package? How many chemicals leach out every time you heat up packages? A lot of chemicals. It is very bad for us.
Forever chemicals.
Yeah.
The reason why we had the cheese in the package was because we could not get cheese from Cisco. And that was the only reason that we had to go with the cheese in the package that day. Otherwise, it would be just the traditional cheese toast or a grilled cheese that we normally would have. But that is the only reason we had that particular cheese.
Is there any other vendor that allows you to purchase cheese?
Not that I know of. I think that is the only vendor we mostly get our food from, that.
Well, see, that's what I was referring to. If this money is presented, somebody needs to be in charge that checks to see if somebody else sells cheese. I mean, you can't just say, well, that's an easy option and go with it.
I think they have.
You can on some things, but I'm be honest, just from this presentation, it's easy to serve that right there. It's fast and it's easy. We live a fast lifestyle. But I mean, if we're gonna front the money for it, somebody needs to step up and take the flag and run with it and do the right thing. And do a little research.
So you're looking for
and
a
serve.
volunteer?
No, I'm not a volunteer.
I think
No, I
too,
said
they
if you're
have to
looking
do
for
a
one.
bid. They have to have a bid.
I understand
a bid
that.
on a particular, vendor.
But when you put the bid out there, find somebody that sells cheese
Yeah.
and put it on the
Normally
list.
they do, they just did, a lot of times we are out of an item, and that particular time they were out of cheese. They didn't have it on our thing to even purchase.
So this only happened once?
Yeah, that was the first time we've ever, our school has ever served the grilled cheeses in the package, and it was just an alternative, because they were completely out when they brought our truck in, there was no cheese. So we couldn't make the cheese toast like we would normally do, and that was what they had, so that's what we got that day.
And which I understand that about the cheese toast. I mean, that is the only time I've seen the cheese toast in the package. But when you look at all the banana bread and all the little Pillsbury, like, I don't know what that cheese stuff is. It's all processed, fake cheese, I don't know what it is, but it's all in a package. And then when you look at the cold meal going into the landfill, all of that is going into a landfill here in Chester County. All of that plastic tray thing, how long do you think it's gonna take for that to break down? How much is that costing to even get those? I mean, that's another thing. Where's the cost coming for that?
So what I asked about with a hot vegetable, this is how the children get the boxes. They run up, they get it. So let's say my child does want a cold sandwich that day. They're not allowed to get these, but let's say he can get a cold sandwich. Where is he supposed to put his hot vegetable? He's gonna get this, he's gonna go sit down, he's gonna come back to the line, because 3 of the 4 cafeteria managers said that is an option.
To have what is offered to have.
Let's
the
say,
option.
because my kid loves sweet potatoes. So if he got a cold sandwich and they had sweet potatoes that day, he would want
And he
them.
would have the entitlement to that, correct, ladies?
Yes.
Has this been told to anyone?
I don't know if it's just been told to the kids. I guess if they come through, if they asked if they could, I'm sure that the line servers tells them yes.
Well, shouldn't
Yeah.
they be transparent to the parents and the teachers? Hey, if
Especially at an elementary level, yes.
my 6-year-old's not gonna come home and say, I really wanted vegetables today, and me know what in the world is going on that she's talking about. So, maybe we can, how do they get a hot vegetable if they get this tray?
It would be a separate tray, the way it was
They would
explained to
have to
me.
have another tray, the blue tray, like we
Right.
call it, like she would serve the hot vegetable on, and put that on there, and then ask for the vegetables.
Carrying 2 trays.
And they would have to have 2 trays.
But the one tray would lay on top of it.
Right.
They would just carry the blue
They just
tray.
carry the blue tray, yeah.
The trays had 5 compartments on each tray.
But that
plus
should
your
just be set
slot
on the
room.
tray, and then they could.
But
again,
I don't think I ever knew that, as a matter of fact, we tried to keep them from going back through the line. But that's great if that's an option, if they want that extra vegetable.
3 of the 4 said yes. Middle school said that is not an option for them, that they spoke about it in their last meeting. So I don't know why that's not an
Is that
option.
with Dawn? Is that who you're talking?
Not sure why that's not an option at the middle school.
And I don't believe the way it was explained to me today, that it was an option, either yay or nay, based on the actual manager of the specific school. I don't think it's a call that you guys
It's not a call we
make.
make.
Right. So I think it's true for all. But again, what is obvious from this conversation is a lack of communication that can improve.
And it very well, if this goes forward, it very well should take place. Because, I mean, if we're gonna allow money to do this, like I said, somebody's gonna have to step up and do it.
We can't, I mean, this is not anything we can do right now, anyway, it's gotta wait until next year, correct?
Well, the
To add
money that you're
$20,000,
talking
I mean, that's next August.
It's
so
not open until April, it will
All
be
we
on
can
the
do
April
right-
agenda.
All we do right now is communicate that there's a vegetable a day available for every kid.
Well, we can start making changes on our food. We can start ordering better food, stop ordering packaged food. That doesn't
Beverly,
take time.
there is a federal guideline. This is not like going to the grocery store and picking up what you like. I mean, yes, we have Pop-Tarts, but the Pop-Tarts that are federally approved have to be multi-grain, which is a different
Everything's
texture.
whole grain.
But
It's got-
that didn't change from that much from when I was a kid and the food that I was served. And, I mean, it did not change that much.
Oh, Beverly, you and I are older than we.
The food you were served was cooked with
We
Crisco
can
and
get the salt,
butter
all that
and
good salt.
yummy.
That's why you
Yummy.
don't smell it.
You
When
can't
Obama
beat
and stuff
that.
was in there, Michelle Obama, when she changed all the nutrition things, they took the whole chocolate milk out, everything, no salt, no sugars. We can't put any of that. The only thing that has sugar in it is our sweet tea and our unsweet tea that we offer to teachers.
Okay, so I wanna just clarify something with you. So our breakfast looks like this with the Pop-Tart.
Yes,
There's no fresh fruit.
we offer, they can get cooked fruit, sometimes we change up.
Sometimes.
We offer bananas, we offer, apples sometimes, and they also get raisins, craisins, and sour raisins also.
Not to call you out, I screenshotted every picture from September of the breakfast. Not one time was there a fresh fruit on the tray as an example.
Also, if I can add, the pictures that I posted on mine were the same pictures, cause, I mean, it's the same thing. So every one of them would have a cup in it. I would just post, if we're having pizza that day, I would go get the old post. It changes the date, but they did, the fruit changes and the veggies change every time.
The fruit would be different than what she posted.
Yes.
And how are the parents supposed to know that?
They wouldn't.
I
They
list it
wouldn't.
on the thing,
She would just
I
say
list
fruit
it if it's
because
fresh fruit.
it would not be posted on there if it was, say if we had a fresh apple that morning and she had posted just a random, so people would know what we were having that morning. It might have just a cup of peaches on her, picture, but that morning we may have a fresh apple.
It was
And
just,
they wouldn't know.
it's cause I didn't have to do that. I wanted to post that I brought that to Diane as, I'm a worker at Eastchester. And I brought that to her cause the children have a very hard time visualizing our boxes and breakfasts. And I felt like to the teachers, cause the teachers, I was even sending it to them individually, so they would send it to their groups with their parents. And it would give them a visual also to better explain to the kids, because when you're asking a kid, what choice do you want, because we have to have a count each day. And when you're doing that, you have to know. So when I posted that, I was doing that as to help the parents out. Hey, can you, you're having cereal or Pop-Tart, you know, that's your breakfast choices. If not, you can eat at home. I felt that was a better thing. That's not something that we had to do. I wasn't told to do that. I did that upon myself.
Can I ask?
Because I had children also.
Can I ask who told you to stop posting the pictures?
No, I did that myself because until it was brought to the board meeting, because there was so much stuff.
Was it still being served?
Yes.
Yes, same thing, yes.
Yes. It just, out there, I mean, it's just, you have to be professional about things, so I stopped doing it until this come about, until this is done. Then I told parents, I will post when the board meeting's over,
And
how things
Stephanie
go,
would say,
yes.
go ahead and start posting. But with just like some of this meal, sometimes it will be a different kind of fruit. Or in the cereal, it could be a different kind of cereal with the cheese. Would I want to eat that?
I mean, if you ate this for breakfast, we've got, 24 grams of sugar, just in this. That's what a child is supposed to have in an entire day.
And I would like to say this, when we start talking, and I agree with you 100%, we've got to start doing if we're spending the money from a vendor, can we spend it better? Because I can tell you right now, when I go in the gym in the mornings and say, okay guys, who's going to breakfast? If I say it's sausage and biscuit day, or it's hot meal day, they will run in there and go. You know, so I'm saying they're, and I know it's more work or whatever, I don't know, but I'm just saying, let's give them better choices. Especially, I mean, breakfast, y'all, is
So important.
it's so important. So I would say, let's all work together here, and let's research some things and come up with a plan to better spend the money that we're spending.
Now, I'll add to that. The flip side of this is you have to be able to determine the take rate of it. Because they may like the hot meal, hot biscuit better, but we don't need to be throwing away 700 sausage biscuits every day.
And they don't, and I know that personally. They'll throw away, they'll get some stuff out of those boxes, or they'll get one of those Eagle boxes for lunch and eat the chips out of it, and that's all they eat. And they'll throw the rest in the garbage can.
Yeah. So,
The garbage cans are
so
full.
either way, you're throwing money away.
Right.
I mean, that's gonna happen, especially at the K through 8 level. But, I mean, it could be done better, I mean, it's just my opinion.
So I'll go back to my picture of the other counties. Does this hot, ham and cheese croissant, these Belgian waffles, the fruit parfaits, the egg bites, do those look more appetizing than this?
Well, of course.
Which one do you think is gonna benefit the child more throughout the day? We're taking the easy route here, and it's hurting the kids. You're spiking their blood sugar, they're crashing, they get to lunch, then they can get more sugar, then they're hopped up again, and then they're crashing. And from experience, when I pick my children up, I'm starving to death. Every day, I'm starving to death. What did you eat today? I got the hot lunch, but it didn't taste good. Okay, well, let's see.
I think that's a kid thing. My kids take their lunch, and when they get in the car, they still starve. But obviously their lunches they pack are not hot, good vegetables and whatnot.
Okay, so, the after-school meals, snacks that Southwest Human Resources, why is football the only after-school group that takes advantage of this?
We have staff we can serve snacks. We don't have an after-school program currently.
Right. My husband and myself actually went to the Southwest Human Resources Agency with Mr. Hutcherson, we viewed it, we met the supervisors, I got the application, seen what it looks like.
Yeah, he's talked to us too.
Yeah, he's
He came to one of the board meetings.
Is there a reason that Chester County doesn't implement this?
One reason is because they utilize our labor as to supply their need to distribute.
So I called Tony and asked him, could he clarify, can a parent receive these meals? They can,
Meals or,
snacks or meals. They can either choose. They can get the snack one day a week, they can do it 5 days a week. The football team gets a meal every day. Because I guess Coach Todd calls them, he says, hey, I want this for my boys. You have coaches buying meals for students that don't have money. You have coaches buying snacks for kids that don't have money. In middle school, you have kids getting out of school at 3 o'clock, going straight to basketball practice and being there until 6:30 or 7 o'clock at night. So this Southwest is in Henderson. Henderson is like the only county besides football, they don't even serve Chester County. They're here. They're right down the road.
That's what we did last year. And I can say, attest to that, some of their hot lunches, I'm gonna say, were worse than our school food.
So I got the menu for October, and like I said, we viewed their facility. I watched them make the sandwiches, thick deli meat, nice looking bread. They've got chicken and dressing, they've got meatball subs. I included the menus in your package. If they didn't want to do a meal, they could do a snack. It's the same snacks that you serve. So I'm just wondering why Chester County is the only county that doesn't implement a program in their own county.
well, like I said before, they came last spring to a presentation, to one of our board meetings with a presentation. What I learned after that, they were gonna utilize, or requesting to utilize our cafeteria staff to help distribute
It's
the meals.
not the cafeteria staff.
No, that's what he was doing.
Yeah,
No.
Yeah, that's what
was
his-
our-
He was asking.
That's what
He
he was
approached
asking
us
us.
in order to use
I got you.
that.
Like with football, the reason that the football team has is because Nikki Hancock used to work at Southwest. And she and I talked about it, and she told me what she could help with the football team. It's been like 3 years that's been going on. They bring coolers up there, and the football coaches, disperse it or whatever, dispense it, disperse it, hand it out.
And that can be done through any group. It doesn't have to be a church can do
Yeah,
that, so.
The coaches would have to be willing to do it, but I don't think that would be an issue if they knew about it.
If they knew about it, that's my question. Do they know? Have you made, are coaches being made aware, hey, we have this program, and if you do this simple training,
Well, we have publicized even as early as last school year when we had an issue with the awareness of our food allergies, that our cafeteria staff across the district could be a safer place for families to be able to get, like, the birthday events, but through that process of learning that, sharing that with the principals, they can also, schools have the opportunity of having 2 meals and a snack that can be utilized every day.
where are these snacks going? When
You
you say
mean
a
go-
snack, so when I spoke to you in August, you said Chester County provides breakfast, lunch, and snack. You then corrected yourself and said for free and reduced lunch. Where is this snack that you're providing? What snacks are we providing?
Well, we provided snacks when we did have after-school programs, but we don't have it currently. Now, that's unrelated to the food choice or the food distribution.
So Chester County provides breakfast and lunch,
For those who are free and reduced, yes.
so no snacks.
As far as I know,
Unless it's the after-school snacks that sometimes that they have.
Now, the first week of school, at the middle school, we got a snack in the morning, but we only got it one time, and it was a great hit. They brought bananas to the room about 10 o'clock, and the kids ate them up. It was a fantastic idea.
That was the fresh fruit program things we have, and it still is going on, so once or twice, it just happened to be that morning that they had it.
You said this was last year?
No, it's this year.
Once this year, like
This
the
year?
first.
Right, but we, like twice a week, they will hand out some kind of fresh fruit or vegetable, And it could be carrots, it could be broccoli, it could be bananas, it could be apples, whichever. So that's happens about 2 to 3 times a week. And it only can be done not during lunch or breakfast, it has to be after. So usually we set up on the outside of the cafeteria, and when they go through, they can pick something.
Has this program been communicating with parents?
Yes.
I have no
Well,
idea.
I posted on, like, I have on our page.
So let's say it on that Facebook. Has it been communicated with parents, hey, your student's gonna get a snack twice a week? I only ask that because I do a grandmother's hair, and we just happened to be talking about this, and I said, yes, they got raw white mushrooms last week, and she said, that explains why my preschooler had mushrooms in his backpack. She had no idea. So again, it's transparency. We're not communicating anything with parents as to what is going on. I had no idea that they were getting snacks twice a week until my daughter came out with grape tomatoes and said, I got you some tomatoes today.
Yeah. It's just a program for them to try fresh fruit or vegetables.
Just try something different that we normally don't have mushrooms in the cafeteria. It's just to let them try something nutritious and new to see if they like it.
Well, I would love that, and I would love for that late bus kid to stay till 4:30 to get that Southwest meal, because they are starving.
I think that's a great idea for those like those kids. They're here till 4:15.
And it would give them something to do.
That's easy. All you gotta do is call that guy, man, he'll hook
I
you right
could
up.
contribute some money to the fund.
What's his name?
The application is very simple, the training is
For the
simple,
help, I'm sure.
and the people that work at Southwest were super helpful answering any questions. There's a whole menu in this packet that you can look at. They give snacks, and like I said, you can pick it 1 day, 2 days, or 5 days a week.
And
They
for the
deliver
board,
it to
y'all,
you.
teachers would gladly find cheese, fill out these forms to get the meals for them. Cause we want kids, just like
Sure.
you, we want them full. It helps with the classroom.
Yeah.
When they're hungry, they can't learn.
You could get parents in on it too and just organize a small committee and they all work together. It could be of just a group of volunteers that help with the menu, that help make sure, distribute the snacks, stay late, you know? There's plenty of stay-at-home moms and people that are just willing to help, just for other kids.
Let's just all know we're on the same team. We all want the same thing. So out of this, I would take, we need to be better stewards of what we already have. Make sure people are implementing that and the way they should be. And then moving forward, communicate the options. So, like I say, many times we know things when we're presented with them. So there needs to be some follow-up to make sure it's being communicated. And then until we can get to April, just better stewards of what funding is already there that we receive until we have the opportunity to add into it to increase the free and reduced portion that we would need to pay. So we can take that from here, knowing that's gonna come to an agenda, but then some internal follow-up as well. But it's been a wonderful presentation. Is there anything different other than that
I just
before we
have-
move on? Okay, yeah, sure. Okay.
Is anyone actively seeking and applying for nutrition grants?
Yes. Stephanie applies for every grant that she knows of every year. Chester County doesn't actually qualify for a lot of them.
Can we see some of those applications that they've been sending?
I pulled the budgets for the last 5 years from the trustee's office, and in those 5 years, we've received $10,000 from state grants. That's not a lot, considering the amount of grants. I thumbed through 15 pages of nutrition grants. I also included in your packet resources for different things, for grants, for the opportunities. Other towns in West Tennessee, other schools that have been awarded. If you start changing your menu and showing that, hey, we want our kids to eat better, there's grants for that. There are so many grants that, is anybody seeking and applying for these?
Well, she said yes, so.
Can we see where that's
Can we see where that's actually being done?
Well, again, she works in the office with Stephanie, and again, I appreciate the fact that I'm gonna share this packet that you provided us with.
I have one, you can have
Very
it.
good, very good.
So can we get those grants that she has applied for?
That would be a question for her,
I have no problem with that.
as long as
If
it,
they're available that I can share, I don't have a problem.
I mean, these are kept on file for so many years, correct?
Now,
For
when you s-
auditing purposes?
yeah, I mean, when we file ours, we have to file ours electronically when we apply with the state. So I don't know how y'all go about the process of
Most of
applying.
them is the grant writing and turning it electronically. But I do know she has applied for any and everything, and we actually did just get a grant this year for the fresh fruit and vegetables, which the elementary schools have been doing, where the kids get to try mushrooms, they get to try celery. They're offered these things as a snack that maybe they don't get to have at home, that the parents may not buy or be able to, but they are able to try it. Whether or not they like it, that's up to them, but they get grapes, they get carrots, cantaloupe, they get anything that is offered through the produce that won the bid. We only had one vendor, fruit and vegetables, produce, actually bid to us.
Ben, you asked earlier about, can we get these supplies from other people? When I pulled the budgets, I asked Ms. Keene a couple of questions, and she sent me about 7 different vendors that Chester County uses. So we do have multiple vendors that we use.
And those vendors are
This is Stacy in the back.
specific, products.
But it's all nutrition, right?
It is, and that is, a consortium of school districts that use those bids. So that's why the other districts have the same vendors. So I sent you multiple vendors, but like, one of them was possibly a milk vendor and one of them produce and what have you. So, you know, there's not necessarily multiple items from each vendor I sent you.
But there could be.
There could be, but most of the time, one vendor is a milk vendor, one vendor is a produce, one vendor is, vegetable, you know, canned goods or things like that.
So we just need somebody that can coordinate and make the menu a little bit better. And see all the
That's
lists from
what
the
it
different
sounds like,
venues.
yes.
Yeah, from the different venues and get that together.
It's
I have
possible,
a
it's
question
doable. About the milk, I know in the line, the kids would get the water through the line, it used to be up at the front next to the milk, but then they had to move it, and they were told that they had to move the water, because it was competing with the milk. So, I'm just curious about that, because when you really go into the nutrition of everything, I have a nutrition background, but a lot of nutrition classes in college, milk is really not that great for us. In fact, we had the highest osteoporosis rate in the world, and we had the highest take of milk. Water is actually more beneficial for us, but yet the water's across the room, and why is it, who,
The state.
why is it the state saying that, or?
Yes, it's all of the guidelines having to do with nutrition. There's so many rules and regulations to do with the menus and how many grains per week and whatever. We actually went through our annual review just this past year. East Chester was one of the schools picked. They just picked randomly. We passed with flying colors.
Ma'am, I'm sorry, I looked
We
that up,
meet-
I looked that review up, I read that review. You had about 8 different things that needed to be corrected. I read that review. Your accounts were wrong, there was stuff in the budget that was not right, there was about 8 different things.
And-
I read that
At
review.
East? Or
Well,
was
it just says
or was
Chester
another-
County.
In East, our review was great, and
Okay,
they told, the 2 ladies told us that personally.
But we did, the water has to, it cannot be by the milk, it has to be out there in the dining room.
So we're told by people, lobbyists that go around with the milk companies paying for all this, we have to listen to that and put our kids' nutrition at risk. Okay, that's
Well, there are guidelines like they have to follow.
I know,
And
they're paid by the lobbyists and the milk
That's right.
corporations and everything.
But we should encourage the student, if they wanna drink water, then drink water.
Yeah, that's education.
Yeah.
And that's another thing, I think we need nutrition education. I mean, you're gonna give them guidance every week, I think they need 30 minutes of nutrition education every week. That way they can make smart choices. We want them to be the best athletes, and we put all this money into athletic buildings and everything like that. We'll start from the bottom up, where they know that when they're outside of the classroom, hey, I want this and not that, here's why, this is what it does to my body when my body takes it in. Okay, so.
Any questions for Jessica?
I skipped one. When was the last time a registered dietitian was brought in?
Now, the food inspectors that you're talking about, the ones that came and inspected Eastchester, were they not dietitians?
Yes, they was.
That's what I was
They also
thinking.
come to our meeting that we had, that you, I believe you.
Yeah,
were
I
also-
attended too.
Did the dietitians that came in recommend these boxes?
Yes.
That's
That's our
That's
program
scary.
called Offer versus Serve, that is
That-
part of our program.
That is very scary.
That's
That's very
scary.
scary. I don't know a single nutritionist that would recommend that. I mean,
I showed that
I've
to
been an
2 different
oncology nurse
doctors
for over
and-
10+ years, and I work hand in hand with
Let's,
our
let's,
nutritionists.
let's,
that
wait,
we
let's
don't
be
do that.
addressed by the floor as they were speaking. One at a time, please, thank you. All right.
The fact that 2 people from the state came in for a few hours, recommended a box,
I think it was longer than that, but that's,
I don't think, we didn't have the box when they came in. They wanted us to have 2 options, because we only had 1 option when they come through. So, this year was implemented with our 2 choices, our hot or our cold, which they can still get something from the hot. This was brought in comparable to some of the other counties that they have. We looked at some of them. I mean, I don't normally look at the menus of other schools, but we looked at some of them, and some of them has the same thing that we have. But this was not brought in, this was not here when the state came last year.
but they did recommend it.
They just recommend another option,
But not this specifically.
not that specific.
Oh, okay, that makes more sense, actually.
but they do have federal
Yeah, they have to
guidelines.
follow the
This
guidelines.
is by federal guidelines that
Like,
this is.
everything in there is whole grain, less sugar, less fat, like it's, we have to go by, like, what's put in there, we eat is stuff.
Well, Stephanie, we don't make this
Yeah,
up,
no.
and this is just the guidelines that's
I'm
going
gonna
by.
just make a point of what you're saying. You're saying whole grains, less sugar. So I'm gonna use the Pop-Tart, for example, because that was the easiest one for me to look up. The school Pop-Tart is wheat, right? Doesn't
Yes,
taste the
this is a
same grain.
multi-grain, I
A
think.
kid, even I know what a Pop-Tart tastes like. So you have a company who says, hey, if we market our stuff different and make it a little bit different, we can sell it to schools. So to get that in the school, they've gotta change the ingredients to make it taste more like their original. Because a kid knows what something tastes like. If they don't like it, they're not gonna eat it. So what they did was, is they added about 10 extra ingredients to the school Pop-Tarts. 8 of those ingredients are not even, you can't even get them at Whole Foods. So they have taken something, made it worse, just so they can sell it to schools.
And I agree that I have 3 children. I have one in, at East, I have one at middle school, and I also have one at high school. My high schooler will not eat the food, will not. He doesn't. I understand. My child comes through the line, she don't want something hot, she gets the cold box. But that route, our Pop-Tarts, instead of 2 in the thing, it only has
That's
1,
one.
and they're this thin. And they do not taste like the normal Pop-Tarts. I've eaten one myself, and, I mean, they don't.
Some
So
of
yeah,
our,
we think it's a good option to serve to the kids when it's this thin and it doesn't taste good.
That, again, we don't put that, that's what we have to, like, it's not on, if it was our opinion, we would change things up, yeah.
Cafeteria manager, and they can let her know, hey, we don't even like this and we're working in the cafeterias.
I would personally eat it, but, I mean, that's just me, but now there's some other options we have on some of these boxes, and it is the ham hoagie with the fresh vegetables. It does have a chill, and I think it has a ranch, I think that's what it has in that particular box. The other one is a pickle wrap with the turkey, and I think it's about the same basis, it has the fresh, sometimes we put a fruit instead of a vegetable in there. And I guess that's the only 4 that we have, is the cereal, the yogurt, the ham hoagie, and the pickle turkey.
In September, these were served 3 times a week. So,
Any questions?
The yogurt, or both of them together? Those are just the majority of those.
yes. Now in junior high, you get 2 yogurts, Cheez-Its, and a chocolate cookie.
Because the calories and everything is different when the child gets older.
So are we saying that that's acceptable for a junior high child to have 2 yogurts, chocolate cookies, and Cheez-Its?
Well, obviously, I feel like I'm trying to defend things that I can't really speak to with the assurance that these ladies are doing. I do know that there is federal guidelines and I shared it with the board packet, the most recent one, there's a section of calories and a level of sugar and sodium for like lower grades, up to middle school, up to high school.
There's 80 pages on that. I read through all 80
This was just a
pages
one
of it.
pager. I wish I shared that with you.
Wish you would
instead.
have to, but I read through all 80 pages. And
think-
I understand.
I think we can all agree that it's broken, but I don't think we all knew it was broken. So if you don't know it's broken, you can't fix it. But now we know, and we can move forward in a different route and
But as something that goes on in this
Change.
county, the school lunches that go to every single student. It's not this student, it's not that student. You are required to serve every single student a lunch and a breakfast. How do we not know what we're serving?
Well, it follows the federal guidelines, but
So we keep using that word, because Troy and Stephanie both said, well, we have standards and we are following the standards and we're following the guidelines. So we strive for excellence in our academic standards, yet for our nutrition standards, what are we doing?
we're fixing it based on what we've learned. But it's not like we've let it go by not overlooking it. We now have been called to see what the problem is. So now we have that opportunity, now that it's been brought to us.
And you've done a great job by
Yeah.
showing everybody with lots of research to back it up, so
Absolutely.
we understand.
I'll just finish my closing statements here. I worked hard on this. School meals are important, and when we understand that, we'll invest the time and the resources that these programs need to be successful and impactful. So thank you, board members, for your time today. And Troy, I just want to ask, is this the best that we can do?
Obviously, we can get better each and every day.
Perfect.
Thank you so much for
Thank you.
I forgot to add something in there. It was just something that a parent said. She said that 3 of her 4 children have wheat allergies, so there aren't many options for them currently with school lunches. A daily chef salad option would be huge. I have to spend a fortune to make sure they get a good quality lunch. What about the kids that have no choice but to eat school lunches? Because as you were saying, everything is wheat.
We have
Yes.
a lot of meat.
But I do know that they do address the allergies that are made aware of. And again, we've been more attentive to that this year than ever before, as far as even my awareness.
For wheat or peanut butter?
No, for all allergies.
Don't say that, that's a cuss word. Stop cussing.
If there is a food allergy, there is a alert that comes on the screen. They, if they bring in the doctor's hat and the nurse gives it, then we put that alert and it comes up on the screen.
Thank you.
Hey, good job.
Very good job, very thorough.
Next, we have a celebration. We were going to focus on the Family Resource Center, but Ms. Bates had a family commitment come up this afternoon. I don't know if you want to reference anything on that or move forward.
Well, and I would say that, again, Mia's here with us as the, school health coordinator, and she and Mary work well together. Mary is our Family Resource Center leader, and again, there is a site on her website, which I included in your board pack, just to show you the commitment that she makes. I've invited her to every office staff meeting, but unfortunately, her excuse has always been she's got so many students that she's attending to that she cannot make it. Now, hopefully she's being honest with me, but I believe that she is, and she has worked to provide those extra resources of additional food items for those students at risk. Not only that, but our clothing needs, school supply needs. I really wanted her to be here, and I'll probably have her to come back and present it sometime because she does the best job of presenting what she does. And I want the community to know the resources that are available through her work as the Family Resource Center. It's across from where the practice field is, that is her office space. But she does provide clothing for students and adults.
Is that where the little outdoor hutch is at now?
Mhm.
They've moved it
That's
from-
right. Yeah, when we lost Eagles Edge with the construction, she relocated there and Mia relocated to high school. So, but Mary does a really good job. I'm proud of the work and the dedication she has to it. And both she and Mia recruit students to join in on the work. The Student Health Council committee or group or club that they have, they're really targeting the behavior. I know that Mia was just even this morning talking about addressing those social relationships with students, the bullying issue, bullying prevention. They've had some recent presentations and presenters at the junior high to address that, to help students understand the need to be empathetic for everybody.
Yep.
You know, put the others' needs before my own. So Mary does a good job, and eventually she'll be here to present it with a little bit more clarity and fervor.
Well, I want to speak up and say this too, Mo, because normally we don't have this many people at a board meeting, especially this much staff. And I know, just like my sweet wife, you guys go above and beyond to help these kids too, so that's appreciated as well.
All right. We'll get into just a couple of board action items that we do need to take tonight. The first is a good example of something that was brought to the board through a delegation, and then we promised to research a bit and come back with a policy adjustment revision if necessary. So at last month's meeting, we got a staff member request the consideration of an adjustment to the board policy about the display of tattoos by district employees. So after that meeting, our research has been done. Mr. Kilzer took it upon himself to contact many other school districts across our state and get like policies and kind of come back with some information for us. So I'll let you kind of share what you found, and then we can move from that.
Well, I don't have the actual count in my head of how many I spoke to, but I did send it out to all superintendents across the state. The overwhelming majority have very little attention to the display of tattoos, other than the few times that it was mentioned, as long as it does not distract from the educational pursuit of the students. And that would be also with their clothing style, other styles that would be distracting from their education, from the instruction. So a lot of my friends across the state just said, looking forward to hearing what you decide to do. So what I provided for you is a draft, and again, what's highlighted in yellow represents of those who did provide some guidance. And again, I'm having to use a different device called our online, I've got it here now. Where it gets into the second paragraph in that 5.6001, which is staff dress is the title, where it reads, all employees are expected to dress and groom in a clean, neat, and modest manner so as to enhance rather than distract from the operations or the learning environment of the schools. So what's highlighted is what has been in addition to our existing. Of course, I shared with you also in that agenda our current board policy 5.6001, which is everything that is not highlighted is carried over from the previous approved policy. But as you see there in the section under jewelry, body piercings, rings, including what was already there, rings are limited to the hands, ears. Again, if you remember from a year or two ago when the one of the school leaders requested that they have at least one available piercing for the nose. So to match up with what was approved by the board then of having a nose piercing approved, it reads that no piercing or ring should be of size, type, or design that would be distracting to the learning environment or pose a safety hazard due to entanglement. That's just a general terminology that matches up with what others have shared.
This is, sorry.
No, I was just going to finish with the part with the tattoos, which is dresses, because again, it's more than just tattoos only when we did the research on the staff dress, because that tattoo section is found in there. That's the one that was restricted, had to be covered as the staff member shared last month. But this is reflective of what I shared and learned from other districts across the state, which is fairly general. It says it should not be visible on the face, chest, or neck. as they may be distracting in the learning environment, excluding the natural cosmetic, because again, I'm not thinking about the tattoos that would be like the permanent eyeliner, permanent eyebrows, the lip, permanent tattoos. Again, this is outside of my realm of understanding. But based on what others had shared, district employees then cannot display tattoos that have offensive or inappropriate language or images. Cultural exceptions must be approved by the school administration. So that has been, of the compilation of the research that I've done, that's pretty much the consensus of the ones who did have something more restrictive. That's the restriction they included.
So if they do have a tattoo that the administrator believes should be covered, then they need to cover it.
Exactly. And that would be a matter, if they don't choose to cover it, if it comes to that, that'd be insubordination, which is a whole different realm of responsibility and discipline.
Miss, at the top of the policy, it says grades 6 through 12. The Board of Education may adopt a strict dress code for students in 6 through 12.
If you remember, Mr. Jared Shoemate was the one who has happened to be here. Gosh, we just got a full house today. You remember he requested last year that the student dress policy be reflective of K-5 and then 6-12, rather than it was before as K-8 and then high school only. Or it was 4-8, excuse me, 4-12. 4-12. So bringing the middle school, our middle school, the intermediate grades, 4th and 5th, down to the elementary school grades, that was the part, and that's the only reference there.
That don't mean, this is for teachers that teach all classes, right?
This is just
As you see there, it was saying, and again, it's just reflecting what we've already done for our students.
Right?
No, he's referring to students in that
Students
line.
in that
That's in that line, yeah.
Yeah, that was already, the content that's not highlighted in that, Clay, was already there. All I did was update it with what we adjusted from the previous year. That was an oversight on my part, that I didn't consider looking toward a staff dress code policy when it was impacting his request for the student dress code.
Well, I spent a lot of time as an administrator trying to get tattoos covered up, that I should have been doing something else. As long as somebody is doing their job, and they're not distracting to the learning. I don't have a tattoo, I don't want a tattoo, but more power to you if you do. And then you won't have to spend your time people coming to you and say, did you know so-and-so had a tattoo? I didn't. So I think that's a good, I think this is a good addition.
Well, and some of my friends in other districts said some of their best teachers had tattoos. So they'd say, you know, I don't want to cause some separation from us because we benefit from their instruction. So again, not to say, again, just like him, I don't bear a tattoo, and don't plan to get one, especially at my age now. But not to say that it's accepted by all, but there's a whole lot more of it occurring now than it was 20 years ago, 30 years ago.
Yeah. Leaving it up to the administrator, though, I would hope that we would have administration that didn't allow something at one school that wasn't going on at other schools.
Well,
It needs to be addressed. It is a policy. If we pass this draft, then it needs to be pretty stern, that if you have something that, because I know in anything, not just tattoos, you're gonna have those few
Yeah.
that try to push the button, you know.
Walk as close to the line as possible.
Yeah. So I mean, as long as we got that, that
Well,
firm
and that,
affirmation
notice
from
that it's the
administration.
cultural exceptions. And again, that's not just a general overall that the principal can approve whether it's offensive or not. Most of us can determine what things are offensive.
Yeah.
That's got to be covered. But if it's a cultural thing, if it can be justified for some, and again, we're looking at something more general in terminology to address, because we don't know 10 years from now who we're going to hire.
Yeah.
So that just addresses if anybody has a cultural or something based on their religion or practices from their home country, then that's a decision that would be left to the administration to make. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Any other questions? Everybody understand the revision? Okay. All right, is there a motion to be made to approve the revision to this policy about tattoos in the policy manual for the staff dress code?
Yeah, this doesn't change anything with the students.
Right,
I'm
this
glad
is
you
staff,
said
this
that.
is staff dress code, yes, correct.
I'll
Made-
make a motion to
Okay.
approve it.
I'll say.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded, and just to verbalize again, it's tattoos should not be visible on the face, chest, or neck, of course, other than cosmetic tattoos, eyeliner, lip liner, that kind of thing. But other than that, that does loosen the restriction somewhat. So that motion's been made and seconded. Is there any more discussion or questions about it? If not, all those in favor of approving this revision, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that is, a recommendation has been approved. The next one is the 2025 health insurance plan for the district employees, which is coming up now. And I'm going to have Troy, since he's been involved in this more, explain what's happening here. But you've got some comparisons in your pack, and this requires some board approval. So.
Well, as was included in your agenda, by midday on that Friday, September the 27th, when this district office around noonday or sometime around the early afternoon received the quotes from Cigna, what it would be that's posted in there for those links of comparison sheets. And we have said it since we started this. For those of you, which is only now Shane, we started this venture of walking away from the state plan and going to the private plan back in 2016. But every year, other than those first 2 years of commitment, we have said routinely, once we start seeing that the difference in the values, if the state plan ever becomes cheaper, we would come back to this. When we realized that significant change between the state option versus to what we have currently with the private option, Beth Waller, our HR supervisor, confirmed with the state people that she had that we had to go back to a vote. We didn't think initially we would have to. So we wanted to make sure that the effort was done correctly to ensure that we've got the right protocol and practices to make a change if it comes to it. So that's when, a day or two later, that was, like I said, on the 27th. The following week is when we were able to provide, early in the week, that Tuesday, we provided to all of our employees the option to see the values of both sides and to have roughly 3 days to make a decision either or. Would you want to stay with the private or return to the state? And again, just for your knowledge, when I asked the question, why is the private plan higher? Why are the quotes higher? Initially, the reason why we got to even choose to take a private plan is because our claims report for those years preceding was much lower than it is currently. We've had a lot more illnesses, lingering illnesses, that has caused those insurance premiums to be utilized. So that's what's caused the rates to increase. And with that being shared, we gave those initial 3 days. Again, we did not turn off the survey for those first 3 days, but we wanted to put a sense of urgency to the staff to take some time to look at the options between the two and to consider which one would be the best to serve them. Again, the state plan, where you've got both options there, as you see from the graph, that pie graph that I shared, we had of the over close to 300 employees, or right at 300, we did have 175 to respond to it, with an overwhelming majority of 87.4 choosing to go back to the state plan. That was 153 of the 175. Some of those, because of the option that was provided with the survey that was generated, they could go back and change their answer. A few did choose to change from a private back to the state. So there's about a handful or less that chose to go back to the state, even after initially saying they want to stay on the private. So again, I present to you, of course, you can look at the comparison. Stacy's here to address some of the needs if there's any questions that you have too. But again, with the state plan, it's going to be different than what we've been accustomed to, because before with the private plan, it was Cigna only. This is going to have Cigna and Blue Cross Blue Shield. Both of those, as you see reflected in those comparisons, it includes the Blue Cross Blue Shield as an option. We had back in 2015 very few at that time using Blue Cross. Most of everybody was using Cigna. That's why we felt comfortable then going to that private plan, because most of our staff at that time was using Cigna anyway.
What is the difference in the Cigna Standard and Cigna Limited?
Can you answer any of that
That's
stuff?
mainly deductibles and, I mean, but that's the same whether you're with the state or whether you're with a private plan. Your, partnership and your standard and your limited, you're gonna have different deductibles and, different maximum out of pockets and things like that.
But you, as a group, they can't choose one or the other.
They can choose any of those options.
Okay, okay.
They can choose
Yeah.
partnership, which they've always been able to do that.
Okay.
The state does offer the CDHP also, which the private plan we never had. So
And
there's
there-
an additional option with the state plan.
there was somebody that brought the question about a gap insurance.
Gap insurance is not available when you go back to the state.
That's right.
The state, that's a state rule, not
That's right.
something that we have control over.
Gotcha.
And I confirm that with the bunch that we have been dealing with, the insurance brokers with Gallagher, that the state does not, now, they can go out and shop for their own, but it would be totally separate. You cannot use the district funds that are brought in by the state for insurance purposes.
Gotcha.
Do we have a motion to approve this plan based on the survey that's been done among the staff?
Well, based off the survey, straight from the horse's mouth, majority will, I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, made in second. Any other questions about it or discussion whatsoever?
Is this going to happen every year?
Well, there's another, I think it's a 2-year commitment at a minimum. Once we make this choice to go back to the state, it's just like when we went off the state back to the private, it's a 2-year commitment.
And this, to send the survey out on Monday and expect it back, was just timing?
It was timing to get started. I kept it open. I informed the principals that it was gonna be open beyond that time, because that was some of the initial concerns that they had, that 3 days was not enough.
Right, I got a lot of questions, that I couldn't answer, cause I do have insurance, but I just remember when we would have meetings, and I don't know if it was Stacy or who would explain things, and I think a few folks wanted a little bit more explanation.
Well, again, of course, as some of the people in here, like, that have pitched for us to return to the state, the state's already got their benefits package. It's already publicized. I mean, they can look at it. Now, again, the Gallagher role, as far as providing us that hand-to-hand or that one-on-one conversation as far as registration, it won't necessarily be that way. The guidance from the state will be just like it was back before, where I'm sure they're utilizing more electronic technology to make sure people can sign up for what they want to. So, again, but included in some of the information that you have, you see that the district is contributing a significant amount of those certain option plans. And within that, again, the minimum is 45%, but with the ones that most of our staff are choosing anyway, we supply a whole lot more than 45%.
Well, I know it had been said once before that they may not have had the option when going between the two, so I do appreciate you reaching out to the staff and asking their opinion, even though some may have thought it was a short window.
We fielded a lot of calls, a lot of emails.
Yeah.
I answered a lot of questions.
Yeah.
And I think we offered 3 different people that staff could reach out to, and I know all 3 of us took many questions.
Very good.
Good.
All right, the motion's been made and seconded. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor of approving this, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you, it is approved. A couple other little shorter business items we need to touch on. We have a recommendation to the board to accept the ESSER 3.0 application. We were fortunate to receive some carryover funds and allocation from the Tennessee Department of Education. If you want to address that.
Well, and just like I said, this is money that we have already have the opportunity to receive. This is, as what Shane has expressed, The ESSER 3 represents the final 3 doses of federal assistance coming out of COVID. We had ESSER 1, ESSER 2, and ESSER 3. The ESSER 3 ran its course this past June, but as realized is there was some resources that never was initially expended as budgeted. So it goes back to the feds and then giving us the opportunity to repurpose that. So we just have to reflect that in the budget, which is in your budget amendments, by the way, that was already in your consent agenda. So, and we're utilizing that as it was shared. Sorry, my camera went down, my phone went down. You know, we are purposing that for work with an individual, Nathaniel Provencio. We're using those resources to help build up the professional development of our staff to have a district-wide professional learning community focus. So,
We have a recommendation, the board accept the plan and approve it, and that way we can utilize those ESSER 3.0 funds. Is there a motion to approve that?
Make a motion to approve that.
second.
Okay, made and seconded. Any other discussion? Okay, if there's none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that is approved. Also, we have a TISA accountability report. This is with the Student Achievement Act as part of the TISA. We have to, starting this year actually, or
We did
last year actually, yeah, submit an annual accountability report to the Tennessee Department of Education, as includes some things about student achievement. You want to address any?
Well, just real quickly, again, this is the funding formula that the state uses now to fund our school districts. This is replacement of what used to be called the Basic Education Program, the BEP, along with the stipulation of the TISA account, the TISA funding. You have to provide them evidence of how you're working towards specific goals of achievement improvement. One of the 2 goals has to include the first goal that we have, which is by the year of 2028, you're having at least 70% of your students, when we do the math for us, where we were as a district, 70.1% over the course of those 5 years is what we're aspiring to be for the reading proficiency of all 3rd graders in our district. So we had to include that plan, and then they recommend a second plan. They didn't tell you where that second goal. We chose to use Algebra 1. Again, this is the same goal we had last year. Our Algebra 1 success has been limited, and we've put a lot of attention and resources toward improving that. So again, because of these 2 goals that were started last school year, we have to reflect it with what actually happened this past spring with the TCAP and the EOC testing that was done. And then we have to adjust and provide the new narratives, which was included in your pack and was included for all the community stakeholders to see and read and reflect on. Because another factor that had to be included was the public opinion. We started that last year. It was explained to us later in the year with very little window of a deadline. But this one, they gave us a reminder of what had to happen. Last year, we had around 60 stakeholders voice their opinions. This year, it's about 40. Majority of them agreed with both of the goals that were set. Of the few that disagree, again, there's a lot of angst and stress with 3rd graders because they know the accountability is where it is, that without passing that 3rd grade TCAP for the literacy, for the English language arts, there's a risk of being retained. So, you know, it adds a whole lot more concern and burden on the families. And in my opinion, and some of them were very explicit with their statements of feedback that was shared with you guys, that it was, I believe, reflective of that 3rd grade accountability because it's such a high mark and measure now.
A lot of stress for an 8-year-old.
It is.
And their teacher.
And their families.
And their family.
Right.
Well, board approval is required before we can submit that report to the Tennessee Department of Education. So is there a motion that we approve this TISA accountability report?
I make a motion to approve the report.
Second.
All right, it's made and seconded. Any other questions, discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Okay, all of that is approved. The last thing as far as the agenda business item is the annual thing we have to do for the state as well. Board approval of the 24-25 LEA compliance report. It basically shares that We're complying with all federal and state education laws, State Board of Education rules, and we have to just approve that by board action every year.
Every year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I provided you with what was called the draft copy in your agenda. You see the whole thing being, the first page, it actually is what we submit with the signatures of the chairman and myself. But then the additional pages to follow is actually what we're committing to do. So, again, we have made that commitment. There's been a few years in the past that we had issues with the physical activity account that we had to address. But since that, through an adjustment with their master schedules at those grade spans, we're able to meet that. So we're continued to be in compliance. So it's a formality. It has to be done before the end of, I think, next month. But it was normally in this time of the year with our agenda. So that's why I went ahead and included it now.
The motion to approve the recommendation before we submit this to the Tennessee Department of Education.
I make a motion.
I'll second.
Discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Opposed? All right, that is approved. That's all the actual business items. We do have just a few minutes. We like to touch on any updates that the board wants to request, or Mr. Kilzer, if you want to share anything from the updates to the board.
Well, you see the two capital building projects that we have. The construction of the ag and the auto shop space framing is done, and then you have your walls being built up, especially on the Jacks Creek road side or street side. Again, as the dates reflect here, that completion date for the ag and the auto building is going to be sometime mid-February of the next calendar year. And then in addition to that, I've shared with you, and it will go out to the community stakeholders soon, a Google form to give the community an opportunity to voice in their interest of what that name is going to be. There's been a lot of names considered. The current staff and students in the CTE programs generated several names. The listing of the names is just a shorter list. Recommendation from some other district leaders is that we create even a shorter list than that. So maybe we're going to reduce that down to give about 3 or 5 choices before it goes public, but to have the public weigh in on the choices. Again, these initial interest or ideas for the naming of the location is being generated from staff and students. So it's not just a whim and the wish of a few. Several kids were involved in it. It was generated initially by the high school, since they're going to want to take advantage of it. And then the multi-purpose, I know Beverly said athletics, but that multi-purpose is going to live to its name. It's going to be representing for multiple grades. Multiple schools are going to take advantage of it. That building, again, the footing has been done. The framing has been moved to be ready to be structured soon. All of the metal for the multi-purpose is on site. So we're not waiting for any future metal siding. We're still waiting for the ag and auto metal siding right now. But it will be, again, toward the start of March, I believe is what I remember reading.
Yeah.
Early March of 2025. That's going to be a real useful location. Again, like I've shared with you folks before, the example of the multi-purpose that we're modeling is one that's in Trenton, Tennessee, and their director shared with me that their band uses it more exclusively than any other group. But from its location, it was a place where our middle school students use recess, so that'll be available to them. It's not going to be used by the community for like parties. It's not going to be structured like that, but it's going to be utilized for our students, our staff during the 8 to 3 day, and then for any athletic program to utilize it. So.
Has there been any discussion with like a FEMA coordinator for it being like a shelter if there was an emergency?
There hasn't been, but the construction of it.
That was actually a possibility to even get some extra funds, I think, but Brandon Connor has got that ag building going over by on the fairgrounds. That is gonna be, that's where the FEMA funds went for a shelter for the community, so
that's what
really didn't think it was necessary to even visit that.
You have to, I know, my friend at Hardin County has a couple of his schools that have FEMA halls to satisfy for any case of storm damage or issues where, but it requires a whole lot of additional construction.
And maintenance.
Yes.
But the dollars were already allocated for that. So we wouldn't have, we would've had to come out of pocket for lots
You wanna
more
address it?
construction.
I have to. Do you folks have any question? I included a professional development update. I mentioned him already, Nathaniel Provencio. He's already met with 3 of our schools, East, West, and Jacks Creek. He's gonna be meeting next week with the junior high, middle school, and high school. And again, our school leaders and myself will be going to a PLC Institute in San Antonio next month. And again, this is getting the leadership of the schools on board of what it means to move our campuses to being a professional learning community. It's a big task. It's not a task that the finish line is close to being seen. It's a process to go through, but it's ensuring that we are guaranteeing that every student is gonna learn things that they have to perform well in their school years, and then address those needs when they don't, or address the needs that the students have if they're already beyond that. So you're considering the remediation as well as the enrichment. So it's a commitment that started with us back last summer and spring, and it's continuing this year. It's not additional work as much as it is giving more purpose and utility of what we're already committed to do.
Okay, those are some updates from Director Kilser. Is there anything else from the board members before we adjourn the meeting that needs to be addressed?
Yes, sir. So when I was elected to be on the school board 2 years ago, my career was much different, and I traveled much less. But since Katie and I have purchased half of a business in Montana, and I've been spending most of my time between Montana and North Dakota, I've only been here probably 10% of the year, maybe. I don't feel like I can justly serve our community as a school board member anymore, so after this meeting, I would ask that you would accept my resignation.
Any questions about that from the board members at all? And obviously, we did have that new policy, last month, about the joining virtually, which would make it more difficult for you to join from out of town.
Well, that's the
Board members are limited to 2 virtual attendances per year to be involved in a meeting, so.
I'm supposed to be in North Dakota right now, and then I was supposed to have the meeting in Nashville next week, and I have to be there. I have to do what's best for my family, and I can't do both.
Sure. Well, the process would be the board would need to vote, and we can do that now, to accept or not accept the resignation. And then, being that the general election is already set for this year, we would, with the mayor here, it would go to the local government body, the county commission, to appoint someone from his district to serve until the next general election, which would be 2 years. So there will be an appointment to serve until the election cycle. That would include myself and Brandy in 2026. So we could start that process with Mayor Hutcherson tonight to fill this position if the board votes to accept the resignation. Anybody have any questions about that? Anything they have?
Do y'all understand this happened a few years ago when, weren't you appointed for district?
Well, I
She was
was
appointed because no one ran.
supposed to be, and it wasn't.
But Mr. Glenn Naylor passed away, and we had to do an appointment through the commission. Mark Griffin was put on the board.
Yeah.
Similar circumstance, obviously, but it's different. So at this time, we would need a motion to accept the resignation of Clay Rogers effective immediately. And then after this meeting, Director Kilser can get with Mayor Hutcherson to start the process to fill the position as quickly as possible.
Well, I appreciate your honesty, and I appreciate what you're doing to better your family. A man's gotta do what a man's gotta do, so I make a motion to accept his immediate resignation after tonight's board meeting.
I will second it, and this did come as a surprise, but I understand, and we appreciate your service.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any other discussion? I'll echo, I appreciate your service and your priorities, God first, family second. So, good luck on your endeavor from this point on. Motion's been made and seconded. We might need to vote. All those in favor of accepting the resignation, say aye. Any opposed?
Well, that was a fast eye. That's the fastest eye all night, Becky. Every other one's been delayed.
Must be the connection.
Yeah.
She's ready to hang out with her nieces and nephews, so. Well, our next meeting, I will just share, and thank you for the turnout tonight. I think we've moved our meetings up to make them more accessible. That's one reason we had a 5 o'clock meeting. So our next meeting will be on Tuesday, November 19th, and the location will be at the Chester County High School, and it will also be at 5 p.m. for those who choose to attend. And with that being the end of agenda, we will call this meeting adjourned.
Should have told somebody.
Thank you, Kim. Good input.
Listen, I should have told somebody so I could get some time.
Man, he didn't even get five.
Good thing it's
I get you 5.
Somebody rush out for donuts on the
Hey, there's donuts, Clay.